back to the beginning of another week. It's week 15 and my back is feeling a lot better. The weather, unfortunately, went from like crazy hot last week to a little bit chilly, to be honest. So I'm kind of back in sweaters and hats to keep from being too cold. But I did get a lot done this week, so I'm going to go ahead and take you around and show you what happened. Okay, so we are up in the garden, and the first thing that maybe you notice is that all my trash is gone. So I have been cleaning up. I've also been planting. So here we harvested some of the leeks that were hanging out in here, but I also have lettuces and other green things growing in there. Up here, I've prepped it and planted some carrots and some beets. And over here, we have at least one row of radishes, and I'll plant some succession sown radishes there. This is my thornless blackberry. I forget what it's called. I have been working on getting, let's see. Yeah, I have been working on getting names. So this is it says mulberry, but it's actually a blackberry. Here, Murrier kind of stands for both blackberries and mulberries, so it gets a little confusing. Anyway, Black Cascade is this one, but it's thornless and there are so many flowers on it. So I am cautiously optimistic we're going to have great berries. I did another pruning of my garlic because we always have rust issues. And unfortunately, I'm looking and I need to get out here again because it's already kind of coming back. But I'm just trying to keep enough of the greens alive so that we get bulbs this year. So fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. I didn't get, well, that's going to be tomatoes and stuff, so that's not getting planted out for a while, but I didn't get around to doing the brassica plantings. They are coming. My horseradish is coming in really nicely, and these big ones are the ones that I intentionally replanted, and all of these little ones are like the tiny little roots that get left. So I actually need to go and weed all of those out, because otherwise I'm just going to have a crazy amount of horseradish. May or may not be a bad thing, but I don't want a ton of it. This raspberry is hanging out. It's a Malling Promise that my mother-in-law gave me, and unfortunately it's very aggressive. So I don't want to plant it in the ground because it will like take over a space. So I'm thinking about potentially planting it in the chicken area and then basically using the chickens to control it, because any sprouts that come out like beyond whatever gate fence I put around it, the chickens will prune for me by eating them. So we'll see. Over here, woohoo, the gophers or moles or whatever are completely digging up the space. This is like completely destroyed by burrowing creatures. Anyway, this is my asparagus. We were eating it, we were picking it, but honestly, like it basically started growing faster than we could harvest it to eat. So we are still getting some decent little stems, and I will continue as we want to eat asparagus to harvest those. In hindsight, this patch was probably too big for just the two of us, but ultimately the asparagus is doing great. I like the fact that we're going to have asparagus. It's a perennial plant, so it comes back every year. I don't have to think about it. That's really awesome. And asparagus is something that we eat a lot, unlike the leaves, which are now ginormous. And I've started picking them for the chickens because we just do not eat green stuff fast enough. Yeah, there's a lot going on in the garden, but those are kind of like the new features. Oh, I wanted to show you too over here. We have these I actually planted from seeds. These are alpine strawberries. They're impossible to get in the store because they just do not keep. They produce super tiny little strawberries. Look at these. They produce these tiny, tiny little strawberries, but they're so delicious. Oh my gosh. So yeah, we're getting our first little tiny alpine strawberries. So that's awesome. And I'm planning on propagating those kind of throughout the area because we do eat lots of berries when they're in season. And over here, I wanted to show you that my little sweet peas, or my mange tout, the ones like the snap peas, are starting to come in here. My lovage in the corner there is coming back. All of the things, these are all the sorrels that I planted around here, which are basically like green things you can eat. And these are the skirret, which I think we eat the roots on. I'm not sure. I'm planting a lot of perennial things that we don't eat a lot of, but they give Francis interesting things to cook with. And his new hobby is basically creating all kinds of meals with the stuff I grow. So I'm trying to grow a variety of different things for that. We do still have the area over here that is doing well. I wanted to show you, these are my Bay de May. So Bay de May are honeyberries. They're kind of like blueberries, but they don't require the acidic soil of blueberries. But you can see we're actually going to get berries this year. So that's exciting too. However, I also noticed that I planted my lilies over there, and I thought I had planted them far enough. But then over here, I can actually see that they're getting quite close to this guy. So I'm going to kind of have to figure out what I want to do there. But he's looking really great. And his partner, so this is Borealis and this is Aurora, and they're pollinating partners. So you need two to get the berries. This one didn't really have a lot of flowers this year, but either there's another pollinator around or it had enough flowers to at least pollinate that guy. But this one doesn't seem to be having any fruits this year. My tea tree over there is having some serious problems. So I'll have to kind of troubleshoot that. And then all of this green are actually weeds that I need to painstakingly go through and like completely weed this area. You may or may not remember, but I had a giant weed growing here, but it was really pretty, so I left it. And it flowered and it seeded and it sends out thousands of seeds. So I probably need to get better at not just leaving things to go wild in the garden just because they're pretty. The fig tree here is looking amazing. There's no fungus on it yet. I need to start spraying them regularly because with the humidity, fungus is definitely a problem. And somewhere on here, I can't find it at the moment, but there is one fig, unless somebody else ate it, which is, oh no, there it is. There is this one fig. So this tree gives a breba crop, which are these first figs, and then it gives its like real crop later on. So it's kind of nice. Like we'll get one fig, better than no figs. Some of my carnations are coming in, and we'll go down. Oh, the strawberry patch I put back. I put some straw on it. So hopefully I managed to get most of the wild strawberries that I put in, but now I just have to like kind of keep an eye on it and make sure that it does its thing. I did start kind of working on remulching the orchard. We got a lot of rain yesterday, so that's all from yesterday. But along here, I was working from way down there because it makes more sense since my mulch is way up there to start at the farthest point and then move forward because I get tired after I've been out here for so long. But yeah, along here, my kiwis are doing well. The orchard is doing well. And I do have some of those little lupins. Here's one. So they definitely didn't all take. And that's actually a kiwi that has probably bit the dust. It's got tiny little green things down there. So I may still let it try to grow since it's still kind of cold. But yeah, basically I've been trying to clean up, so you can see pretty much exactly where I stopped, and I need to continue up the orchard there. I am also working on expanding my little, I don't know, I guess they're technically called guilds, but like my little groupings. I have the trees, which were the main things that we put in first. And then I put this Bocking 14 in mainly because I can harvest the leaves multiple times a year and then use it as a green fertilizer, which is kind of cool. The daffodils, you remember I planted earlier this year, and that's to help deter the voles, but also it gives us nice flowers, at least, you know, for a little while. And I did get around to planting the new strawberries around each of the things. So now on this outside section, I have strawberries started, and each tree has its own set of strawberries. So that way I can keep them identified, and I actually put little tags. So in here, Charlotte. So this tree has Charlotte, and I did 3 at a time. So 1, 2, 3 trees have Charlotte, and then the 3 trees up there have something else, Mara de Bois, because that's kind of the commercial alpine strawberry similar one. And then my other 3 trees up there have Garriguette. So again, they're basically on the outskirts. There's like 8 or 10 that are on each side of these comfrey things. So that's happening, and the plan is to actually put artichokes in between these trees. So there's a lot going on. I'm super excited. Oh, obviously, Francis actually got out to mow the grass. So that's been a huge help. The lovage down here is coming back. These plants eventually will go out into the garden. It's just that I got them over the winter, and some of them weren't looking too great. So I'm kind of like letting them recover. Or like my geranium, I have to bring it in because in the winter, sometimes it dies, sometimes it doesn't. So I have a geranium up in the yard, up in the potager that I left, and I'm pretty sure it died. We have a nesting bird up there. It's hard to tell, but yeah, that thing is its nest. It actually moved because before its nest was like somewhere over there, but it's a very large nest. It might be magpies. That might be magpies up there. I'm not super sure. But on this north end, the cilantro's coming in, which is great. This is an Ida Orse. So you can see that's the little flower, and basically the greens are edible if we want. These are more cilantro, and are my lily of the valley. Here they're called muguet, but I planted, these are Ida Orse, but I planted a bunch of muguet. So it's kind of a tradition here on May 1st to give muguet flowers. So we went to a bunch of vide greniers this morning, and there's tons of people selling muguet plants. So that's pretty cool. My grapes are doing their thing, so I need to think about trellising because they don't have any trellises. They're just kind of hanging free for the time being. But this year, that one I didn't have to cut all the way down because it had a decent trunk. But these other ones, I basically had to cut them all the way back because last year they just didn't grow very well. So I'm looking for like pencil thickness branches to then train. And the ones from last year were just too small. So basically I had to cut it all back down and restart. But this guy actually had a branch from last year. So this woody branch I felt was barely thick enough to qualify as pencil thickness. So I went ahead and left it. And so now it's growing beyond, and like we actually have little grapes coming in on that one. So that's shocking. But now that that's actually happening, I need to think about trellising. Otherwise, we're probably going to have a problem. Francis got me an electric blower that works on batteries. So I was able to actually just go around and blow the driveway, which was very satisfying. Bad news is this wisteria. I don't know what's going on with it. It was looking so promising. I had all these little tiny flowers, and then I swear like it just went completely kaput. So I have no idea what happened, because we didn't get a freeze or anything, but like these are just like, they're gnarly. And yeah, I have no idea what happened. So unfortunately, we did not get any flowers. Like they started and then nothing happened. And it's not dead, because like here at the base, it always sends out these babies. So, I mean, it is alive. I have no idea what happened. So if any of you have any ideas, I am all ears on that one. In the carport, I think this is going to be my big project for this week. I have been trying to clear out stuff. You might notice like we always have trash and recycle, and it's because there is no pickup here. So we have to take our stuff to the dumpsters, which are down at the mouth of the street. Plus, I have a cardboard problem because I keep all the cardboard for the garden and the composting. But this entire area has obviously gotten way out of hand again, and I need to clean it up. So I think this is going to be my big project for this week. But there's the washing machine that I use for the pets, since Francis doesn't like sharing washing machines with them. But yeah, that is what it is. Every once in a while, I show you just for fun. But let's go and see what else is happening. Up here, I harvested all the little parsley starts and actually replanted them in these containers, because we actually eat parsley with almost every meal as like a garnish or part of the meal. So that's happening there. I kind of trimmed up the lavender, and this lavender I kind of started trimming up, and then that prompted me to actually cut back the ivy to like re-expose the rocks and stuff. So I still need to clean up from that prune, but it's happening. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure this guy is like completely dead, Jim. It does not look like it's coming back. I was kind of leaving the stumps in, hoping maybe it would do something, but I think I might have to give up on that one. There's been no progress up in the driveway area. I haven't gotten my last pot, but we did do a bunch of pruning. So this is all the pruning that Francis and I did actually out in front. So I hardly ever show you out in front, but yeah, that's the front. And over there, we cleaned up so that way you can actually like see the walls again. The city sends a truck to trim the hedge on that side, but we have to trim our hedges. And right now we're in a time where we're not supposed to trim the hedge because of the wild birds. So we'll have to wait until, I believe it's the end of August, early September, before we'll be able to trim those back. But the other guy came, and so I did remove that section that was growing out here, and now I just have this little clump. So once I get once I clean up that and get one more thing in there, that's basically setting the structure for the driveway, and we'll go from there. In here, the only thing that I've planted so far are the mashua, so you can actually see they are very slowly starting to emerge. And if I get close here, they look just like nasturtiums. They're actually a type of nasturtium, but they create edible bulbs underneath and they vine. So those guys are basically, the idea is that they'll grow up and then I'll kind of train them to grow around and in between these planters. And I've never done it, so we'll kind of see what it looks like and then I'll iterate from there. Up in my chicken space, the chickens are doing their thing. I did finally get around to installing their second automatic door, so that opens up at 9 a.m. to let them out, and then they get free range of the space. Under these citrus trees, I planted this Ethiopian kale, or I think it's also called like textile greens, not knowing what they are, but apparently they get 4 feet tall. So obviously I am not going to be leaving a bunch of 4 feet tall textile greens under here. I will have to, I'll have to prick them out and put them somewhere else or feed them to the chickens. But this is the orange tree that is very, very slowly and gingerly trying to recover. It is not going anywhere fast, but you can see I need to check that one to see if it's actually on the graft or not, because I don't think it is. I think the graft line is right there, and I do believe it's above the graft line. So I'm leaving it. It looks decently healthy. And this big one, like it is shooting out some leaves. So we're just going to baby this guy and hope he comes back. But the raspberry, the gooseberry, the other gooseberry, and the raspberry are doing pretty well. My satsumas are just, yeah, crazy with flowers. Even these guys look like, these are raspberries. Looks like they're going to have some flowers. So yeah, things are happening in here. There's a ton of flowers on this lemon tree. So this whole upper canopy has tons of flowers. And below here, I've actually done some pruning because ultimately I do want these trees to have a bit of a trunk and then have the canopy up here. And then I can probably maybe take away the cage, but maybe not, because I don't know, my girls are kind of aggressive. This is my lime, and I was also concerned with it because it was showing some signs of stress from the winter, but it's got flowers, so we shall see. And the last stop is up in this little corner of the property. So we got potatoes going on in here. Last week I showed you that they were just starting to come up, so I did top them up with the decomposed hay, and they're already starting to push through again, actually enough that I need to top them up again, so I will do that. This is going to have random potatoes because I have a bunch of things that are like chitting from stuff that we've had, and I don't know what they are, so I'm just gonna throw them in the random potato bin and we'll have mystery potatoes. Along here, I dug it up and amended it with compost and planted petit pois, which are the little peas, the little green peas. So those have been planted all the way around there. My parsnips, I'm pretty sure were dead. There's no signs of life in here. And basically I've read that carrots and parsnips, the seeds just don't last very long. So I think I can overseed that and plant something else, probably carrots, because at this point it might be too late for parsnips. Plus I know we eat carrots and we might not eat parsnips as much. These are the black salsify. I have no idea why they're mainly growing on one half of the container and not the other, but yeah, we may get some salsify. And this one I also topped up, but you can barely see that they're starting to grow in. So these guys are fine, and I'll let them get to the same point that those over there are, and then I'll top them up with hay again. So I've just been basically pulling the hay from this line, and then backfilling it with mulch just to keep the ground covered. So that's the idea, is that all of this hay that I've been letting sit here and start to rot for the last 18 months or so are going to go to the potatoes. The mulch here, I actually extended out. So now this whole area is basically covered, which I think is really important for the ground. And my compost will also get a tarp over it since we're expecting more rain coming. And the rocks, as I harvest rocks, because I have to I harvest the rotted manure from that pile for the potatoes for the base layer, and then I put the potatoes on and I cover them with compost, and then from there I'll just put hay, and we're hoping for the best. But as I harvest horse manure, I get all the rocks, and the rocks come here. So all of these rocks were added this week, and that's slowly shrinking the area that I need to cover. And then this driveway will at least have its first layer, and then I'll basically restart back over there where it's already starting to compact from the trucks that have been coming in and out. Things to come this week. The carport definitely needs to get sorted. Squash Island needs to get sorted because I was silly and started some zucchini earlier because I got confused. So I have zucchini in the house that need to come out. And I don't usually plant zucchini out here, but I think I will this year. I typically just leave it for the melons and the winter squash so that they can kind of go over this entire area. But I don't know, but I need to prep that area. I had to redo some seeds because apparently I water a lot this year, and I've been overwatering. So some of them died. But yeah, I think that is pretty much it for this week. I will leave you with a little view of my one tiny apium, which is up here. It's growing, but there's only one. Anyway, I hope y'all had a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye.